All right, hello everyone. I am just going to record this quick video because there are some questions on how to submit your forecast and forecast homework. So this is going to be a walkthrough of how to do that. It's going to be pretty generally applicable for all of your forecasts going forward as well. So I hope this kind of shows a template of how this workflow works and gives you something concrete that you can work with for this assignment. So I'm starting off on GitHub here, and I'm going to go to the HasTools course materials page, which I have over here in my recents. And when I go there, what I'm going to do for this particular forecast is grab that sample code that I showed on the slides. You can grab it from the end of the starter codes if you would like, but I'm going to go to the slides. It's in week 4 from September 13th, which is today, and grab that PDF. You actually have to download the PDF to actually like copy and paste stuff from the slides. So go ahead and do that. In my case, it just automatically opens it up. And so you should see these 3 slides. If you just save it and need to open it up in another PDF viewer, go ahead and do that. But you can navigate once you have it downloaded to the last slide and select the code here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and that is going to be the starter code for your forecast script. And so to actually use this after you've copied it, you can go over to VS Code, which I have open here, just in a blank setup. And you'll see I have in my workspace my 3 folders, which correspond to the 3 repositories. As always, there's the course materials, there's our forecasting repository, and then there's my homework one. So what we're going to do for the submission of your forecast script is actually make a new Python script in your homework repository, and that is going to be the piece of code that generates the values of your forecast. So with this setup, we want to go into the forecast submissions, and yours should be empty save for this README file, but you can go ahead and do new file once you're there. Go ahead, new file, and call it something like forecast September 15th.py, because it is going to be due on the 15th. So I'm going to go ahead and create this file, and it should start out empty. And what we can do is go ahead and paste that code in. You will note that you will have to import NumPy as NP here, and maybe you will want to fix up this this formatting a little bit. That would be recommended. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so once you have this, if you want to run it in the interactive sort of window, you can go ahead and add the hashtag %% to make it a cell, and then add one afterwards. And this will give you sort of a playground that you can see the actual stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and run the cell and make sure it connects to my HasTools. Okay, so I do have the flows imported correctly and loaded in. I can see them. And now my next step is to make a week 1 prediction. And I'm going to just call that 0 for now. And I also am going to make a week 2 prediction. And I will also make that 0 for the moment. So your goal, use NumPy to generate these variables. Okay, so it's entirely up to you how to do this. I suggest you play around a little bit. I'm going to create a new cell, and I'm going to, look at the length of the flows. So this has 30 days worth of flow values. So if I want to predict, and this is previous 30 days. This is from somewhere around ending at last week and going into August, like mid-August is the first date that it goes back to. So, oops, I didn't mean to click run above there, but that accidentally did this. So you can inspect some of this. If you want to do some plots or anything, go ahead and do that here. You can think through how you want to make your prediction. This is not so much about making an accurate prediction of the next 7 days and 14 days stream flow for the Verde River, but really checking that you know how to at least import and use some NumPy functions. So in my case, I'm going to do something simple. I'm going to use, well, I'm going to do maybe something like first day equals flows of 0 and last day equals flows of -1. So I'm just grabbing the first and last days from the periods that I've used. Okay, so with these, maybe I will be able to do something with NumPy here, and I'm going to say that the total change is last day minus first day. And then maybe I'll say for week 1, it will be something like the np.mean of the flow. So that's going to be one number that comes out of that function. And I want to subtract off the total change. And so go ahead and do that. And then maybe I'll also say in 2 weeks, I expect it to keep going down. So np.mean of flows minus 2 times total change. Now, this again can be whatever you would like. I just want you to use some NumPy functions in here and anything else you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and run that cell to make my to make these 3 values exist. And then because you always have to run your code cells in order. So if you don't actually do this run cell thing, you won't get any anything for first day, last day, and total change, for instance. And then I'm going to go ahead and print my week 1 prediction, comma, and I'm just going to print out a comma for my own sanity here, and week 2 prediction. And I will run the cell, and let's see, that ran the first cell again. I was in the wrong spot. Let's go ahead and make sure we run this one. Okay, so in this case, these would be my 2 streamflow forecast values that I want to put in my other thing. This is my forecast script. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Saved. And I'm going to copy these numbers, Control C there, and go into VS Code again, into my set of files. And I'm going to go not in the homework repo, because that's where this script lives that generated these 2 numbers, but I'm going to go into forecasting 22, and I am going to go to forecast entries and go ahead and find your CSV file in this list, open that up. I'm going to bring that over here and close this up. Actually, I'm going to leave that open because I need to enter these values. So again, your forecast CSV file, open that up. You will probably have nothing in this, but this is from my previous video where I sort of half walked this through. So now we're going to finish it up. I'm going to copy these numbers, Control C again, just to make sure I've got them right, and paste them in this file. And let me make this big enough that you can see the whole thing. So you'll see we've done forecast 1. You all got perfect scores on that. You all entered numbers, so that's great. And now the goal is to enter forecast 2 here with some real numbers based on real data. Now, the method of deriving the real numbers is probably not going to be particularly like strong from a hydrologic perspective. But again, this is based on real data that we pulled in from that stream gauge. So this is now stepping us towards making accurate predictions with NumPy and real data. So enter those two numbers, go ahead, save that. Make sure that there's a comma between them, and generally I think it would be preferred if you do not have a comma afterwards. That will just save some formatting at a later date. So once you've got that, again, make sure you save this and your forecast file here, your forecast script, and your forecast predictions. Go ahead and save those. Now, if we go over to Git Kraken, which I have open right here, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I go to the overall workspace. Now, note we're going to do two things. We have to submit that forecasting script, that is the Python code that we developed, and make sure that you write your own code here. Don't just copy what I did, but come up with something with NumPy that produces a number that is generally not negative. Now, once I'm in here, I'll go ahead and go to the forecasting repo, and that is where you should see your forecast in the unstaged files. Go ahead and stage that. Now it is ready to be committed. Write your message, submit forecast 2 for AR Bennett, and that's going to be my my commit message. Write one for yourself. It can be very similar to this. You can make notes if you'd like, but go ahead and once you do that, commit it. Now, because everyone is submitting their forecasts, their forecast values to this repository here, the forecasting 22 one, make sure you do a pull right away before you do a push. So commit, pull, then push. And now the reason that we do it in that order is basically you want to tell Git that you have made some changes that you would like to be saved. And then you want to make sure you sync up so anyone else who has made their forecast already, it gets integrated into here. And then when you push, you are sending it off to GitHub so that anyone else who does their forecast value submission after you gets your values when they do a pull. And the reason that we're doing this in this sort of joint and collaborative repo where we're all adding stuff to it is so that later down the line, you all can work together on forecast submissions and you all can work together on evaluating each other's forecasts. We're not going to get to that in this video, but that is the reason that we're all working together in this forecasting 22. Now, similarly, because you have made your forecast script, the Python script that generated those values, we need to go back to our workspace and we can go to our homework repositories. So in my case, homework AR Bennett. I'll go to that. And again, this one is where you will put your own homework assignments. So this one is all going to be stuff that you have done. What you should find is there might be two things in here. One of them is just the stuff about the data that got pulled in. That is the data that was provided via that sample little code snippet. And then your forecast.py file, forecasts up to 15. You can, it's totally up to you. You can stage all changes or just stage this one. It doesn't really matter. For the sake of simplicity, I will stage everything. I personally, when I'm looking at your assignments, will only be looking for this forecast September 15th.py file or something named similarly. I will not grade you on having the data in your repository. But again, it's staged. I'm saying I want to record that this has been created with Git, and then I will say something in my message like creating second forecast prediction script. And go ahead and commit that. Now, even though you are going to be the only one probably working in this repository besides myself, it is always a good idea to go ahead and do a poll here. Make sure that you have any necessary changes. So if I've given you feedback on a previous assignment, it will come in this way. You can pull it in again, and it should update if there is anything. In this case, there ought not be, so you should be fine. And then after you've done your poll, go ahead and do your push. Okay, and now that you have done those two things, remember you submitted the forecast values as your CSV file, and you submitted your forecast script as your .py file. Now, once you've done all of that and pushed everything, we can go back to GitHub. And this is just to verify that this actually worked for you. Go just to GitHub, go to your course materials or sorry, not course materials. Let me walk that back. Go to the base organization. So organizations over on the side, and you can find HasTools Fall 2022. And from here, you should be able to verify two things. Verify first that your homework updated. Make sure that you see what you put in here. So in my case, I'm opening up and there we go. This is exactly what I had in VS Code. This means that my submission went through, and I will be happy when I look at this and give full points because I have done basically three things. It exists. I used this code to get the data, and I used np.something to make my predictions. And so that's the entirety of what you're being asked to do here. It's just to make sure that the workflow is going okay and that you have a working NumPy installation. And now for the second part, I'm going to go and double check in the main organization again, up at the top level. Make sure in forecasting 22, you can go to forecast entries. And so that's going to be right here. And finally, navigate to yourself, find your CSV file, and you should open it up and it should look something like this. If it is just unformatted text, like it doesn't look like this little table, that's still okay for this forecast submission, but we'll clean it up and make it formatted so that this happens in a coming week. But until we get there, it's totally fine. As long as you see whatever happens in the second row has the values that your code outputted, you are good to go. Again, it doesn't necessarily matter that these are going to be correct streamflow values for the moment, but more so just that they exist. So make sure that they get in there, and once you see them, you are good to go. That is basically the entirety of the assignment. And this is also going to be the workflow for essentially every single forecasting entry from here on out. Now, some of the sort of what you create as the scripts will get more and more complex, and you'll get different starter code to learn different aspects of working with Python and working with data. But that is the general workflow of creating a new Python script in your homework repo under the forecasting submissions directory or folder, and then running it, copying and pasting those values into your forecast CSV file in the forecasting 22 repo, submitting both of them via Gitkraken to GitHub, and then you are good. Okay, so again, feel free to let me know if you have questions via email or stop by office hours. Also, you know, as it is currently Tuesday, September 13th, on Thursday, September 15th, I will make sure that this is clear and sort of crystallized for people to be able to walk through on their own. Okay, cool. See you on Thursday.